So, hello and welcome to another episode of the Revenue Focused Marketer, where we discuss anything and everything related to marketing as well as data. I'm your usual host, Hershey, and today I have someone incredibly inspiring with me, Christina Chen, who is the CEO of First AI Group. Christina has been a trailblazer in enterprise AI adoption and a strong advocate for inclusive tech leadership. With over 2 decades in technology and computer science background from the University of Cambridge, she's driving real impact where AI meets people. She's also deeply passionate about ensuring women have a strong voice in the AI space, and that's something I have immense respect for. So thank you so much for tuning in and joining us today, Christina.
Well, thank you for having me here, Hershey.
It's truly our pleasure. For our listeners here today, maybe let's start with your journey, right? Your journey from studying at Cambridge to leading First AI is incredible. Can you maybe walk us through the path and what kind of inspired you to start this company?
It's been a jagged journey, I'd say, like everyone's life journey. I've always been passionate about technology. I'm always that geeky child to start with. So that's the reason why I picked computer science to study. And from there, I also found that comparing to my peers at that time, I was really fascinated about how business works as well. So I did start from a sort of technical position perspective. I did work as a software engineer at Microsoft, but then quite quickly found myself in what I call the business world of technology. And really in terms of working, whether from an investment point of view into technology companies, running operations, etc. I just was really passionate about how technology could really be applied in different parts of the world and how companies can grow, tech companies can grow and scale. So in the last sort of from more of an individual as a software developer, then moved into working with different businesses, tech businesses. That's where I spent, 2 decades or so. First, AI came about through many different angles, but just to cut the story short, I would say was when AI has been around for a long time, so this is not new. I was
Yeah,
involved in machine learning and data science prior to this. And when generative AI and the current incarnation everyone's sort of talking about came about, and I thought, well, this is something that is the next frontier within
definitely.
AI per se. And what really intrigued me was looking back, it kind of woke up. I always say I built first the AI for my younger self, for that young Christina, because part of that is me wanting to see more people like me in the tech industry. And if AI is the next frontier, let's get more representation
Definitely.
into the industry because we don't want people to fall behind yet again. Another
Yeah.
revolution starts yet again. It's part of the reason why First AI was born from the business side, helping companies to leverage this amazing technology. But the way we do it is training up, upskilling, getting people, young people especially, into this cutting edge field so that they can get the best experience, best learning to do that. And this is a win-win because it's more cost effective and more scalable that way as well. And a lot of businesses are really looking for AI capabilities. And this is how kind of the two worlds starts to meet.
That's incredible. I love that you kind of had that strong foundation, and that's what kind of led your journey to then from just the technical side to moving into the business side and then starting something that really promotes like adoption for all. I think it's a very inclusive idea, and I love that that's something that you were kind of heavily partaking in. So let's kind of talk about like a lot of our listeners are marketers, tech leaders, and operators. One question they often ask is how do we get our teams to actually use tools like Copilot? So, what does adoption look like in real organizations? And we'd love to hear any examples that you might have.
Yes, the blockage of AI adoption is actually humans. That's one thing we found everywhere. So whether that's marketing teams, finance teams, across the organization, up and down. So it's about, if you think about some of the use cases, we just came from a meeting with a marketing firm, digital marketing firm, who we sat down with and looked at their processes, mapped out their business operations, etc. Even just from the first half an hour of conversations, there were about 3 or 5 use cases that propped up where AI, whether it's Copilot or any kind of AI solutions out there, can really help. But one big part of that is, okay, how do we make it really easy for the marketers who don't have time to keep up with AI 24/7, right?
Definitely.
How do we make sure that it's really easy that so it change, because some of that changes their workflows. This is something that's a lot harder, people underestimated. So we talk a lot about the innovation is outstripping the adoption right now, because there are plenty of tools that do magic, almost like
Yeah.
magic, that people showcase, right? But when reality hits, it doesn't quite look like that. Where we've seen success, because I think that was what the audience wants to know. So how do you make it work, right? Where
Yeah.
we have seen success, there are two points I want to raise. One is it's got to be top down and bottom up. So sometimes it's one way or the other, right? Quite often, an organization, maybe the top CEO said, well, we got to be on AI, right? We got to stay competitive. Everyone go and learn AI and let's use it. But a lot needs to come from grassroots. Is that marketing team or that copywriter that found something so great, it's like actually telling the spread the words among their colleagues. That's what really drives. And this, one company we work with, because there was one really enthusiastic user of Copilot or AI. She was the one that was spreading the word more than anybody else. And as
Oh,
others
wow.
more got into it, and then that snowball effect, just a positive domino effect started to happen. So we always talk about this kind of champions network is in your companies. Who are your champions? They're not necessarily the most senior people, but the most enthusiastic about it. So that's one. Second is around always about use case. Quite often people feel like it's really abstract and really black box. Oh, AI, what does that mean? But if you can come down to use cases, so I just gave an example a few minutes, moment ago about this marketing agency that works out 3 to 5 examples in the first half an hour conversation. Those are use cases, right? So once they figure out the use case, I'll give you an example. One of the use cases is pitch response, right?
Okay.
How can you use AI to write pitches faster, so
Mm-hmm.
agency proposals faster? And if that's the case, if that's they really bought into that, so everyone can see the benefit of not only for the business but their own personal work, make their life easier. That's also how you can drive adoptions much more concretely. You got to start with the use cases rather than just general, you got to learn AI and use AI.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's lovely. I think oftentimes we forget to focus on the real, use cases, and
Mm-hmm.
that makes all the difference because you can go as broad as like create your own app. You don't even need developers these days. I
Mm-hmm.
was experimenting the other day with Replit, and I was like amazed to see how a prompt I put in ChatGPT created a business idea, and I
Mm-hmm.
used that and put it in Replit, and it created an entire app within like minutes. And it was so crazy to see how fast technology is moving these days and how much you can do with AI. But it's really important to horn into where in your business do you really want to see more of this change instead of kind of going in broad. Kind of talking about tools, maybe we can discuss what are maybe some of your favorite AI tools that you have experimented with or you have suggested other companies to adopt to.
We're very vendor agnostic, so we can't play favorites here. I'm only half joking. So, as an organization, we do a lot of work in the Copilot state, Copilot world to start with, and then it starts to diverse from there. So, why Copilot start with is because we typically work with mid-sized to large corporates. They are most people are using Microsoft, like
Microsoft.
Outlook, PowerPoint, Word, etc. I know a lot of people are on Gmail, G Suite as well. But a lot of our audience, I mean, big market share is people on Outlook, etc. So all the documents are already in there in the Microsoft ecosystem. So put in AI. When I say AI, I mean Copilot type, so personal assistant type AI. In that environment, people find it much safer, secure, because that's where your
Yeah.
files are anyway. Number one. Number two is linked to, it knows your emails, it knows your meetings, it knows this transcripts, it knows the presentation you're writing. So it's all just pulling from all the previous ones you need to reference. So it's a lot, especially think about it. There's multi-hundred employees in an organization, hundred or thousands, it suddenly draws on knowledge that one individual doesn't even know they exist already in the ecosystem in the
Because
organization. So that quite often, we just worked with one legal firm that has 1,300 users. Right. So for them to have everybody be able to quickly write a document referencing all the legal cases out of the 1,300 lawyers that are done in the past X number of years, etc., and writing that without knowing that those exist and go out and search, but it's all in there with AI on top of it, that's hugely powerful. So that's the starting point. But that's just personal kind of productivity, I would say, your day to day general workflows. When it gets more interesting, then is the more specific use cases that are sort of bigger, more transformative, that's cross department. So from a marketing perspective, for example, would be content creation that's not just me writing a better copy, but how can we have a better marketing strategy? How can we onboard our suppliers? So some, marketing firms, for example, always have, whenever it's a project, other freelancers in, right? So we have the core team, but we need maybe a videographer at some point, and every
yeah.
time, or event planner, etc. And they're quite often they're freelance. How can we make that more efficient? So they're
Mm.
always, brought up to speed immediately, rather than our team having to brief them all the time,
Yeah.
or every time they come on a new project. So these kind of more departmental transformations would then be more custom. That's not just Copilot. You can use OpenAI. So ChatGPT, there's a lot for. Claude has a lot of very interesting, more sort of reasoning and technical type custom build work.
Mhm.
Off the shelf marketing solutions, there's plenty out there. Jasper, I'm sure more that people can use just to write content faster.
Yeah. No, definitely. There's so much out there. And, like you said, it really depends on your specific use case, but it also helps to, start off with maybe something like a co-pilot where you can really get those like foundation elements for yourself and increase your productivity.
Mm-hmm.
And having that integration be so smooth because you've been using that product,
Mm-hmm.
it's everything stored in there. That
Mm-hmm.
makes a huge point for transition.
Mm-hmm.
But then obviously with the time that you save, now you have time to kind of explore these other technologies also and explore use cases where you can make things smoother and more
Mm-hmm.
efficient. So
Absolutely.
yeah, and that's really great. I think one of the other sides that I'm trying to understand is like, you advise multiple companies on AI and talent. What shifts are you seeing in the AI talent space, both in terms of hiring and upskilling?
Mm. So in terms of workforce, so I think last year there was a conversation when generative AI first came about. There's a lot of AI anxiety, right? Am I going to lose my jobs, etc. I think
Mhm.
that wave had moved on, has evolved. I think a lot of people are comfortable with have better understanding that it's not AI taking my job, but how can I use it better as a tool
Mhm.
for me? Where I think a lot of conversation these days is more about AI fatigue and ambiguity. Is everyone and everybody is talking about AI is just too much, but at the same time, it's so much noise. Again, coming back to the use case and coming back to how do I look for team members, or how do I upskill my current workforce to spot these use cases and to be savvy to some AI ready, AI savvy to some extent, right? Hands on.
Yeah.
So when we work with more front running, more cutting edge companies, they're thinking more advanced in terms of AI. It's almost a ladder, right? So there are, if you look at across the entire workforce, there will always be ones that are working on AI. So these are the machine learning engineers and so data scientists, etc. They're ones that then there are sort of working with AI, so working on AI and working with AI. So they may be using the Copilot, the off-the-shelf tools, etc. Those two different tiers, how can you get, and then the ones that who may not be using it at all yet. So how can you get everyone to a stand where everyone's AI powered, using AI to some extent, but only a select group in technical organization or department, etc. That are, the machine learning engineers, data scientists, and that's good that way. So, for example, we were speaking with a firm yesterday where they are thinking about how when the new hiring, the job description, does it mean that having AI literacy to start with,
Mhm.
not even, advanced stage. Literacy is a requirement or a bonus now for any hiring, not just technical hiring, for marketing, different, finance and all that. And we're starting to see that shift in the market.
Yeah, no, definitely. Let's dive here a little bit into talking about diversity. I know you're a big voice for representation in AI. So, what are changes that you kind of really want to see, and how can companies build more AI, inclusive AI teams?
It's a hard nut to crack because diversity comes way upstream. Do you even have, or anyone have, the right talent source, candidate source to hire the right representation in? So it goes up to education, early education, etc. But if we're talking about sort of at company, sort of business stages, I think one of the key points to realize for everyone is you don't have to have a PhD to be in AI. It doesn't have a certain kind of persona or a stereotypical type. And again, because everyone needs to be more and more AI savvy, AI powered. In fact, there are a lot of people who, say, from a marketing background, are now in AI, but with their marketing specialization.
Hmm.
And that's still what we want to see. Why is the representation is also about use cases? Again, how AI, because every time we use AI is also feeding back to where this direction is going, right?
Yeah.
Is people's different perspectives. It's not about how everyone looks, it's about how everyone thinks. If you have a perspective, diversity in perspectives rather than diversity in looks, that's more it drives more business benefits.
Hmm.
So sometimes the diversity and DEI initiatives gets a bad rap because it's certain we want certain groups of sort of individuals. It's not
Hmm.
about that at all. It's about, do they think differently? It's about, do they bring different skill sets? Becoming AI powered, because how you write a prompt in Copilot versus how I write a prompt and how I use AI will be different, and that's how you get
Definitely.
different results coming out of it. And that is a key piece for people to realize. And then with that mindset, you can start to see your candidate pool differently.
Definitely. And I mean, we've talked about a lot about where AI is at presently. I do want to take a dive into kind of seeing, like, looking ahead into the future. What trends in AI adoption or enterprise use case are you most excited about?
Mm-hmm.
I'd love to get your thoughts on that.
I wouldn't be the first to say, I mean, it's all about agent these days, AI agent.
Agentic
Right?
AI.
I wouldn't agentic AI, whether the definition of an agent, right? So, but really, it is, if you think about that ladder we talked about early on, first start with the personal productivity, then go on to more departmental, then go on to more organizational transformation with AI, almost like a pyramid. Think about the base layer as it's each worker and going up. The future, or some of the front runners have already looked at personal productivity. There's still room to improve, don't get me wrong, but really the bigger impacts come from the departmental and the whole organization transformation. And that quite often are more use of agentic AI rather than mostly agentic AI will have the biggest impact.
Definitely. I think it's very exciting to kind of see the shift from generative AI being the center and focus of discussion and topics to now, it becoming all about agentic AI. I think a lot of key players like Salesforce have a lot to also do with kind of
Mm,
creating the hype about it and, like, giving people what they really need to
mm,
get to the next step.
mm.
I guess, like, on a more personal note, like, what excites you most about the future of work powered by AI?
What most excites me about the future of AI is we don't know what's going to come with AI. I think everybody, right? It's changing so fast. What I think I saw some of the more almost autonomous, getting towards more and more autonomous AI agents. Some of the computer use launched by Claude a few months back, etc. Anthropic rather, a few months back. That's really interesting because you can start to visualize it, or you can start to play around with it. A lot of people are.
Yeah.
To your point, I think we were having a chat earlier that you can build an app from a get go, but from plain English, I think that breaks down a lot of the technical barriers for
Oh,
people.
definitely. Yeah.
And that's, I think, where it gets so interesting. When ChatGPT first came about, it's also what the reason why I was so successful is because everybody, you and me, can all use it. That was
Hmm.
the first time everyone had their hands on AI beyond the machine learning engineers, data scientists in
Yeah.
such a trivial way. Agents, but ChatGPT also, when it first came about, is a personal assistant, really, ask questions and generate content, etc. Now, fast forward to the agentic AI we just talked about. If that can also suddenly be exposed to average people like you and me to build agents, to write code, etc., that's where I see the most excitement, or I'm personally most excited about.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's exciting to really see. Like, I think the unpredictability of it is definitely exciting and how much more that you can do from it. A
Mm-hmm.
lot of what I've been seeing also is a shift maybe in how we search, right? A
Mm-hmm.
lot of us used to just Google it before. Like, Google used to be, our go to spot. But a
Mm-hmm.
lot of now the shift's becoming like, let me ask ChatGPT and, like,
Yes.
get the answers, because we're not looking for 20,000 results anymore. A lot of what we really want is, this is what I'm thinking, this is what I like, a question sort of answer to that specific question that you need.
Mm-hmm.
So do you think that's really like going to impact Google and like search? Like, what do you kind of see predict for the future of search with
Yeah, well,
AI?
there is a big, yes, there is a big topic, emerging topic around how SEO is going to be impacted, right? How do you write SEO content in the AI age? Or do
Yeah.
you write SEO content for the AI age, right? So there's definitely, I mean, search is here to stay. I don't see us stopping to use search, but people are going to use it differently. Even Google itself, right, has the AI answers up top,
Yeah.
so you don't need to go to a different place to do so. Still, the same content, like having good content is still king,
Yeah.
right? And having good data analytics is still king for businesses. If you know data, if you have content, you have data, that's going to be gold for within any kind of environment, whether that's AI, so ChatGPT way of getting answers versus the Google search way of getting answers.
No, definitely. I think the EEAT factors that people kind of talk about within SEO are huge still, right? Like, you want to be able to get the trust and you want to be able to build that authority for the content that you're writing. So
Mm-hmm.
I think I agree that, search is, if it's still around, a lot of it is going to change. And the recommendations that Google even pops out now kind of depends on, like, how much trust you're building, who's the person giving this answer, right? And it makes
Mm-hmm.
all the difference. So I think certain foundations about content will definitely be important and will stay, but it'll be definitely an interesting time to see, like, how that evolves also. I know we're kind of coming towards the end of our session here today. You kind of talked about, marketing analytics. A lot of what we are aiming and we're trying to do at Dick Growth is also making like marketing analytics easy for laymen. You don't need, any marketer can now be able to access reports that they need. Imagine Chat GPT, but we call it Diggy GPT here. And it's like a very similar, performance. You ask anything about your analytics and it's
Mm-hmm.
able to pull reports for you. It's able to give you exact answers that you need. So if you're having meetings with your higher ups, you don't need to sit with a data engineer anymore or a data scientist to pull like certain or create certain reports for you. It's all done and you can easily fetch them now. So, a lot of effort, I think, is going in that direction, to kind of give people what they need instantly without kind of having that like lack of technical knowledge, if you might say.
Yes, definitely. We see that at almost all the projects that AI or Copilot is making data more consumable to non-technical people,
Yeah.
to different functions, right? So marketing is a classic example we see often. Yes, you no longer need to build a data engineer or sort of a Power BI or Tableau to
Yeah.
developer to do X, Y, Z, and you can live query, ask questions to it. And we've
Yeah.
seen that in different functions. HR, again, these are not technical individuals and they don't need to be asked plain English.
Yeah, and it's so interesting to see like AI is now touching every industry, right? We're talking not just in business, but even outside of that. Like every aspect of what we see right now, somewhere it's being enhanced and the experience is getting faster and better because of it. So I think it's great to see like, how far we've come. And the future is definitely, I would say, exciting too. Krishna, this has been such a thoughtful and energizing conversation. Before we wrap up, any last piece of advice for people that are still trying to adopt AI and, are maybe part of small and medium sized businesses trying to implement or find ways to adopt AI?
I would say jump in, don't wait. And if you're wondering how, start with one use case. Start with a simple use case and see where that goes, and ideas will come.
Definitely. And for people that kind of want to learn more about you and more about the work and First AI, where can they, find you?
LinkedIn, we have lots of really interesting insights, as well as we run regular webinars about AI, and especially because of the work we do, is implementing and helping businesses adopt AI on the grassroots level, on the ground level. There are lots of use cases we get to see and we get to share that. So if you're looking for ideas of just what are people using AI for? What is my competitor doing? What are people in my industry doing? First, AI's LinkedIn is a good place.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that and for being here today. This has again been an incredible conversation.
Thank you.
And as always, thank you to also our listeners for tuning in. If you enjoyed this episode, do let us know your thoughts and we'll catch you at our next one. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having me and thank you for listening.